Good morning. We're looking at homework 3.6 and the frequently asked questions that you had on it. So we're starting off with problem 33. As I look at 33, I really have two different expressions. I have a and then I have a complex fraction. So I'm going to start off only simplifying this complex fraction. And so as I look through here, I see that I'm going to multiply by a over 1, a over 1. Since I'm just multiplying by 1, I do not have to worry about doing that in my other expression, okay, because I'm adding two different numbers together. So I'm just going to bring the a along. 1 times a over 1 is a, divided by, I'm going to make sure to distribute this, so I will have a times a minus, the a's cancel, 1. So from here, if I'm adding these together, I need a common denominator. That common denominator will be a squared minus 1. In the first fraction, to get the common denominator of a squared minus 1, I would need to multiply again. This is over 1. I would multiply 1 by a squared minus 1. So I need to multiply a by the same thing. And so now I'm going to go ahead and keep the common denominator, add or subtract the numerators, and actually I know once I add I would factor, so I'm going to go ahead and factor because they do share a GCF. I'm left with a squared minus 1 and then plus 1 over a squared minus 1. Well, the negative 1, positive 1 cancel, so we're left with a cubed over a squared minus 1. A squared minus 1 would mean 1 can't be negative, nor can negative 1 be negative, and nor can a be negative 1. And at the beginning of our problem, we see that a can't equal 0. We're going to take a look next at 39. And actually, before I address this complex fraction, I see that I have 2x minus 1 in a denominator and 1 minus 2x. I'm going to make those be the same. And what I'm going to choose to do is in that denominator, I'm going to pull out a negative, which changes the positive 1 to negative 1, and the negative 2x to a positive 2x. And so now I have the denominators the same. So this means my well-chosen one will be 2x minus 1. And then again, I'm going to be distributing. So my 2x minus 1's cancel, so I'm left with 2 minus. And be careful here, it's subtracting, so I'm going to put my 2x minus 1 in parentheses from distributing there. I've got to distribute in the denominator as well, so 1 times 2x minus 1. Minus, and the 2x minus 1's cancel. From here, I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms, so I'm going to change the subtraction to addition and distribute, so I get negative 2x plus 3. Here the 2x's cancel, so I'm left with negative 1, so I could bring that negative 1 and I could certainly write it out front. I could distribute it. There's several different things I could do there. I'm going to go back in my original problem. X cannot equal 1/2. And that's true for, you can't see what I'm pointing to, both of these restrictions. And actually I had nothing else in my denominator that would cause a domain restriction there. So I just realized I copied problem number 39 wrong. So instead of making a new video, I'm just going to build on 39. The place where I copied it wrong was in the numerator here. I said 2 instead of 2x. I am going to go ahead and do a similar strategy and factor out my negative of the denominator, just like I did on the last problem. So I get 2x minus 1 over 1 as my well-chosen 1, so none of this has changed. And I'm going to be distributing. This time in my numerator I have 2x minus the quantity 2x minus 1. In my denominator when I distribute I have 2x minus 1 minus 2x. So when I distribute my negatives, In my numerator, 2x minus 2x cancel, I'm left with 1. And in my denominator, I'm left with negative 1, hence negative 1. So there we go. Hopefully I copied the problem correctly. Several of you asked about 37, and yesterday I mentioned that 38 is actually a lot like 37, and we did 38. So my well-chosen one here, I'm double-checking that I copied it correctly, would be a y plus 1, y minus 1, and a y plus 1, y minus 1. So I am going to distribute. When I multiply and distribute to the 1, I still get y plus 1, y minus 1. Plus, in my second fraction, the y plus 1's cancel, so I'm left with 2, y minus 1. Over, I got to distribute this in the denominator here as well. So I'm going to multiply it by 1. That way I'll just get y plus 1, y minus 1. I'm going to distribute, and the y minus 1's cancel, so I'm left with 4 and y plus 1. So from here, I'm just simplifying, and I noticed that, you could multiply all this together. That's not wrong. That will get you the answer. But I see in the numerator, my two quantities in the numerator share a y minus 1, so I'm going to factor that out, and I'll be left with y plus 1 plus 2. In my denominators, the two quantities share a y plus 1. I'll be left with y minus 1 and then plus 4. So I have y minus 1, y plus 1, and then, y plus 3, y plus 3, those cancel. And there's my final answer. I see y can't equal negative 1, a negative 3, and a positive 1 if I go back and look at restrictions. So next we'll be looking at problem 31. As I look at 31 and all my denominators, the quantity that would cancel all these denominators would be an x cubed. So I'm going to distribute. If I take 2 over x times x cubed, I'm left with 2x squared. Plus, in my middle term here, one of the x's will remain, so I'll have 9x. Minus, and then I'm just left with 5. Okay, over. In my denominator, I'll have a 2x to the 4th minus, I'm going to have a fraction here. I forgot to grab the 2, so I'll have to come back and grab that. Minus just an x and an x cubed cancel. I'll have x squared over 2. So actually I didn't grab enough for my well-chosen one the first time. I haven't had any coffee yet, so that's probably why. So I'm going to go back and eliminate this 2, which means I'm going to multiply everything by 2. I'll now have 4x squared plus 18x minus 10 over 4x to the 4th minus x squared. And so from here, I'm going back and I'm simplifying this fraction. I actually need to take the 2 back out because that's the GCF in the numerator. In the denominator, I need to pull out an x squared. Okay, continuing in my numerator, it factors into 2x and 5, positive and negative. There we go. Over, I have a difference of squares. I now see a factor cancel, so I'm left with 2 over x plus 5 over x squared and 2x plus 1. From there, let's state our restrictions on our variable. In our final answer, we see x can't equal 0, a negative 1/2. In the step before that, it can't equal 1/2, and those are the only restrictions that we end up with.